Hello everyone, this is Janice, Sweetbriar Cottage. Thank you all for coming by. I hope you'll enjoy this video. I've been kind of slacking off on making videos lately, but I have been working on journals and that's been fun. I wish I could just have you all over, you know, just come over and see the things I've been doing, see my messy craft room. Had to drink some water. But that's not possible, so I just am glad you are here with me this way, and just know that I care. Oh, before I show you the video, I'm going to show you that I made this, and I just photocopied some of my old photos and postcards, and then I put them together and put some a little bit heavier paper, glued it to the back of it so it'd be sturdier. I hope it's not overpowering everything, but it's colorful. So I put a lot of vintage lace, antique lace on her. This is a real pretty piece, and I like the black because it contrasts with everything. And this is gray with the gray metal corners here that I painted them gray, and then the gray in the old photo frame there. And I used a digital kit in some of this, some of a digital kit, I should say, in this journal. This is part of it, and I will put that in the description if I don't remember to say what it was in this video. This is antique lace, very delicate. This is Edwardian lace with a lot of charms, different layers. This is a nylon ruffle from an old, well, yeah, it was old, 1950s child's dress. And lots of different layers here. I don't know if I already said Edwardian lace there, very old. And more ruffles on this side. I put this on the side, and this is actually a necklace. So if somebody bought this, they can take this off and wear it as a necklace if they wanted to. So I love this button. I have several of them, and I've used them on other journals. It's just a very pretty green color there. I made the journal from a book that was actually Anne of Green Gables' book. Or no, I correct myself. Anne of Avonlea, and not Anne of Green Gables, but you know, they're kind of one and the same. But this was Anne of Avonlea, and it was a newer book, you know, just published, I think it was in the 2000s or 90s or something. So I left some of the pages that had illustrations, because it was somewhat illustrated. It didn't have a lot, but I left those or used them in some way. This is the original inside cover, and that's from the digital kit. I didn't over embellish, but I did embellish it quite a bit. That's from a Victoria magazine. There are 3 pockets here. Oops, that goes in there. There's this pocket and this pocket. I tried to put some phrases in here. It's always nice to have something to read. We like so many of the same things that sometimes I believe you're a reflection of my inner self. Often while you're talking, I'll think, I was just going to say that. And there's some tatting right there. That could be, you know, her talking to Diana Barry, or maybe even Gilbert. Don't really know. This is an actual page from a ledger, and some wallpaper over dictionary page. I just attached this, you know, holes in there with the ribbon, and so there's pages a person could write on. Gotta make sure that I'm in frame here. Let's see, okay, I think you can. And this is Alice Ferguson, and that's just a name I made up, but I just thought she looked like an Alice Ferguson, maybe a friend of Anne's at some point. Who knows? Who knows? But I like that. And then another pocket here. Some old blue lace, and some tatting there. Tomorrow is a new day with no mistakes in it yet. Yep, every day is a new day. I added some stenciling there, raised up with the cornstarch medium, and this says Kindred Spirits, so maybe Anne and Diana there. And there she is. I read in a book once that a rose by any other name would smell as sweet, but I've never been able to believe it. I don't believe a rose would be as nice if it was called a thistle or a skunk cabbage. Now this page was doesn't quite look like the rest of the pages, but yet it does in a way. You know, you can remember Anne's bedroom or visualize it how you imagined it when you're reading the book. But you know, some people have put things in magazines or things in movies that show wallpaper. Not quite like that, but that was one element of her room that was very lovely. Of course, she had puff sleeves, so here's a little bit of that right here. And not exactly, but you know, gives you the idea, the lace and all of that. Well, I'm going to go back to this, so you see what I mean here. It's sort of like gives you the idea of a pretty puff sleeve dress, even though it's not. I love the way Matthew bought her the dress anyway. That was a very special part. Okay, so, you know, I just put some extra writing pages, blank pages, and things that have vintage, antique, back in that era look to them. Here it says, "It is ever so much easier to be good if your clothes are fashionable." That's what Anne said. So here's some fashionable clothes. I'm going to put a little crystal at the bottom here. It's hard to see if I don't like point it out there. That's the other side of the pages here. These are from old magazines that I have from that period. Same with, this is from the same magazine. little pocket here. And another pocket. Now here's an original page, illustrated page from the book. And I added some little lace there. This is from a very old book that I have. And this is a little feathered bird paper clip there. I think I had something paper clipped to that, but I don't know what happened to it. Some more of the original pages. Oh, here it is. It's a bookmark, Anne and Gilbert there. Oh, and then it has a pocket here. And here, kindred spirits are not so scarce as I used to think. It's splendid to find out there are so many of them in the world. Isn't that true? There's nothing like kindred spirits as friends. All right, here is Walter Blythe, son of Anne and Gilbert. Isn't he cute? I'm not sure how you're seeing that. I think that's the way. Of course, we know that's really not him because it's a fictional book. But I'd like to think that that was him. He looks cute. Looks like they could be one of their children, or he could be. And here's Anne and Diana there. It's a postcard of some trees. This is original wallpaper. And a little tag that goes in there. Another original. This might be, I don't know if that's attached to the one over here. I think it is, but because the ledger pages that I put in here, this one is very long. So that's an original. And then I put this little tag here, stenciled it. And this is something you might see a long time ago, even though it wasn't. It's more modern. In a modern magazine, I mean. There's just some lace that I added. A little opening here for some writing. Dear old world, she murmured. You are very lovely, and I am glad to be alive in you. That is the sweetest thing, isn't it? Put some clusters, different places. I had made another bookmark here. And a tag. This is an envelope. And I put this old letter from Walt Whitman. You know, a copy, of course, but... And there is room here to put something. I don't think, no, I didn't put any in there. But I did put a pocket here. And there's... I don't know that that's Diana, but it's one of Anne's friends. And here is a little booklet I made. Or it's not a booklet, actually, it's a pocket. And this has, oh, that's why I was saying booklet, because this is a little tablet that goes in this pocket right here. So I made the pocket with some fabric here and sewed around it. The little, elements there, buttons. My dog might be making some noise. Wanting to come in here. This is an old embroidery piece. Right there. And I guess there's no pocket there now. This is from a book page. Craft book page, actually. Life is worth living as long as long as there's a laugh in it. So I'll laugh. Some of the tracing paper. It's out of the same magazine. Some more of the ledger paper. Little pocket right there. There's some of my wallpaper, and here's a bookmark. This is actually the original. This ribbon was in the book, so that's part of the original book. And this is Elizabeth Hill. I like to put names, so it means something, maybe. And I attached the lace to it rather than poke a hole. This is from another ledger page, and of course this is looks like they're anyway, this is out of the book illustration. This is some of old quilt top that I had. I'm so glad I live in a world where there are Octobers. Yes, so that went well with the colors on this page. And I made this one recently. Oops, I guess it does go this way. Just collaged a board and cut them up, and put some texture on there and stencil. And I made this myself. These are copies of some lace that I have. And this is 2 pieces of lace, some tatting there. This is not of that era, but I don't know, I thought I wanted to put it in there. This is more from the 60s. It's an old, like a menu or something. And another cluster I made there. Here's her dressing table. Stay in there. It does stay in. I just need to tweak it a little bit there. And there's some pearls that I thought was a nice addition with these 3 lace pieces here. And there's something, oh, it's a little envelope with a teacup on it. This is a wallpaper, part of a wallpaper border. Another wallpaper there, book page. Just did some stamping here and there. Here's a lace sample card. This here is actual handwriting from my father when he was probably, there's my dog, I'm gonna have to come back. Okay, what my dog does is he'll scratch on the door, and then I open the door and he doesn't want to come in. He just stands there. So he'll probably do it again, but he's like a cat in that way. It's more cat behavior. Okay. So as I was saying, this is from my father did like a page of budgeting. I think it might have been when he was in the Navy. So he was like, 20 years old or something like that. And it was only 1 page that I had, so, but it was interesting, the numbers and everything, which I didn't really have all of it there, but I just put that there with some stenciling, and it's textured stenciling. And then this sample card. So this whole journal is not, as you can see, not necessarily all about Anne. It's just vintage Anne and about Anne. So before I keep going, because we're at the end just about, I wanted to share with you a little story that has to do with the book Anne and Green Gables. My friend Debbie, somehow we were texting together, and we were talking. I guess I was telling her I was going to make this journal, or I was working on it, and she sent me back this text. She says, "Oh my, Anne of Green Gables, like mines indeed. That series was one of my favorites. I have no idea how many times I read those books." And then she said, "I bet your journal is beautiful." And then she sent me a picture of the actual book, and this is a page out of, this is a copy of a page from her book that she sent me a screenshot or a shot of these pages, and these little marks here are tear stains when she read it for the first time as a child, as a little girl. And this one is, if people are familiar, which I'm sure most of you are, when Matthew died. And so that was very, very touching of that from her. And I remember watching the movie and having the same response. She says, "Those are tear stains. I remember trying to wipe away one, and I just smeared it. That's why it's so big." So then she goes on to tell me about some of the other books that she liked. She said that the book was given to her by a family friend, and it had mold on it at that point. Then she said she hid them because her brothers, brothers were younger than her, but they would come in and destroy things. She says, "I didn't want my smelly brothers defacing my books in any way." That was not a fun time for her anyway. But so that's that little story of her experience with reading Anne and Green Gables. But she said, "My brothers loved to come into my room and just mess with stuff. I remember them trying to swarm into my room with their stinky friends and run around in there as I tried to toss them out. I couldn't get them all out, so I had to threaten them. I'm telling Mom, and then Mom's gonna tell Dad." And so she hid all of her books, and says, "Younger brothers seem to be wretched little beasts." I don't know. I think it's funny, but hopefully you got a kick out of that. Older and younger brothers, I suppose, if you're a girl. Maybe. Sometimes they're hard to deal with. I don't know. I had two, and they were very, very younger than I, so I was more of a babysitter for them growing up. So here is an old wedding certificate. Not wedding certificate, that's what it says on there. No, it doesn't either. I'm just tired. It's a wedding congratulations card, And this is the original envelope, and I think this is a copy of the card itself. And then in here I put a embellished little invitation, which I thought, wedding invitation, which I thought would be kind of fun. And then I was thinking when I put this in here that maybe this was the church they got married in, Anne and Gilbert. And there's a wedding ring here, and put that on a little cluster with some lace embellishment. And that's, of course, out of this is a book page, original book page here. And then this page is from a book, and then another of the digitals bookmark there. That's a little pearl coming off. And in here I made just a card, and I sewed it together and embellished it with sewing. Now, because she's on this side, I put this here, and this says an afternoon at the Stone House, which was this part was in the book, and this is the digital printable digital. And then you can write in here, some extra writing space, and then the end of the book. All right, thank you for watching this flip through of my Anne of Avonlea journal. I'll be listing her in my Etsy shop at some point. If it isn't already listed, it will be shortly after this video is uploaded to YouTube. All right, have a great day. See you in the next video, whenever that will be. Thanks for watching. Bye.